back to From Nine to Mom. We discuss balancing the 9 to 5 hustle with the beautiful chaos of motherhood. And today I know we're talking about investments, specifically investments for kids. And Katie, this is a prevalent topic for us right now. I know you got a question recently, or a few questions, in an appointment you had. So why don't you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so as you guys know, if you listen to Monday's episode, I was still numb on Monday's episode from getting some dental work done. But while we were waiting for the Novocaine to set in, my dentist had asked that she was going to a birthday party, and she was like, "Hey, what do I get? There's got to be something that's like the go-to piece." And she kind of went through the story with me about how in her family, all of her nieces and nephews, she usually gives money towards a college fund. And that seems pretty normal across everyone, right?
Yeah.
Like usually I'll ask for that, or some people will ask, just if you ask what they want, they say put money towards the college fund. But she felt weird doing it because she knew that this family didn't have a college fund set up, so she didn't want to give cash, which I can understand, because if you give cash, you want to, hope
want to
that
know
the
what's
parents
going
are
to the
right.
not that you don't trust the parent, but where is it going? Like, what does the investment look
Right,
like?
right.
And I think people feel really safe when they hear 529 plan, college savings plan.
Yeah. So, I told her, I gave her obviously gift ideas of like stuff, but even when you give the money, I just heard Daisy scream and it was awesome.
Yes,
But
it's happening.
so I was talking through ideas with her, but then I said, even if you give the cash, like they're going to spend it on diapers, because if you aren't, I think we've gone through this before about best gifts to give. If you aren't that close with the people and it's a first or second birthday party, just bring diapers. Diapers, pull-ups,
they
whatever
need it.
you
You know
need.
they need it.
Who cares what size, brand, whatever, just give them it and it'll be fine. But we were going back and forth, and she just, had made me think about it. And I've always talked to you about, what I'm going to do for our kids, and getting, college funds set up was always something I thought about. But the more research I've done and just talking to people, I'm like, is that the best option?
There are a lot more options now. And just from my experience, back in my first life, right out of college, I got licensed to sell Life Accident Health, and I got my 6 and 63 licenses. So I actually was able to sell some of these investment plans and discuss these plans. It's been a lifetime since then. That was back in 2008,
We're taking you back.
2009. And I am nowhere near a financial expert, but I still hold true to a lot of the ideals of that time. I started investing for myself right away in my 401. It was ingrained, like you always have to invest. So as soon as I had Colton, it was I have to have a 529 plan. I have to have a tax deferred like 529 plan.
Yeah.
And now I have a second kid, and I've been doing a lot more research and learning. I'm a research person, like to listen to podcasts, see what other people are doing.
Yep.
My brother's a CPA, way better with money than me. We should have had him on here.
I was going to say, if he was a mom, we would have had him on here.
We would have had him on here.
Totally not the right people to be giving financial advice.
But he does give me a lot of his advice. But maybe one day we'll actually have him on to tell us about what he does, budgeting. He's really great with family life there and runs a successful business. But he gives me some tips and tricks. And I think that now that I have 2 kids, I'm not going to do the same thing for Daisy. I'm changing it up a little bit. But I do think that we got some results from other people too. And I don't know. It's a 50-50 split pretty much, right? What was the exact result?
Yeah, so I posted the poll last night, and the question just was, do you have a 529 account set up for your kids? So we had 44% said yes, and 56% said no. So definitely interesting that there was not people set, like, I was glad to see, because I don't have them set up for the kids yet. I was supposed to set it up for Jack, and hopefully the people that gave me the money for it went to diapers. It's not in the account, but we did all right with it.
You didn't go buy booze and party on it.
No, but we will make sure that Jack is taken care of for college. And so I just was definitely surprised, because it did seem so normal. And I'm going to be really honest, when I had Jack, when someone said was like, here's money for their 529, I was like, what are you talking about? I had no clue, because I'm just like, I had no idea.
That's normal. So if you didn't grow up in the investing world or you didn't learn about it at some point, why would you know what a 529 plan is unless
No,
you
I
have
have
one
no accountants in the
for
family as
yourself? And
a
I didn't have a
sibling.
529 plan. I just am
Yeah.
surrounded by accountants and did some finance stuff in my past. So
Yep.
the facts about the 529 plan, I think why they became so popular, especially like as we were growing up and in the younger years in the market, people were looking for ways to take the money that they wanted to save for their kids and put it into a plan where they knew what they were going to be using it for, that it was going to be used for something
Right.
good, quote unquote.
Right.
Also, that they felt like it would grow. There's a tax advantage for everyone, really, in the 529. There's two 529 types of plans, but the most popular is the 529 tax advantage plan. And it's because your investments can grow tax free, and you can withdraw the funds tax free if you use them for the qualified expenses. So those withdrawals from the education savings plans can be used at colleges, universities, trade schools. And if you have a 529 plan, and when I was doing a little bit of background looking into it again, you can now use your own 529 plan and pay up to $10,000 per year, like per beneficiary for any of their tuition at a private or religious elementary or secondary school. So I always thought that you could only use your 529 for college, like that's what it was for. But come to find out, you can use it for some private schooling leading up to college.
So if you had one and it's sitting there, you could put it towards your kids' stuff
or I
if
think
you're
you can
done
also,
with it.
don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure you could also use your kids for that. So if you have up to $10,000 a year. So if Colton's, I wanted to send him to private school next year,
you could start using
that money. But I also think that I was surprised at all the other things that you could use it for as well. Like I didn't know you could use it for vocational school or trade school. You can also use the money for like qualified expenses. So computers, related equipment, repayment of student loans. And I know, Katie, you mentioned someone in your life, they had this plan, but they were required to get the loans first and then repay which I think is really cool, honestly, because they're saying, hey, finish.
Get that diploma first.
Get that diploma, learn, and then you can have the 529 plan. Right. So I do think that that's an interesting way to teach your kids how to spend money. But I think the 529, because it grows tax deferred, it can be withdrawn without tax penalties or tax free for your kids. It was always a very popular investment. And right now, you and I have talked, everybody's at a different stage of life, whether you can contribute I know people who are contributing thousands of dollars a month to their kids' 529 plans. I know people who, like me, I don't contribute on a monthly basis. I just put money
when you can,
when we get in or when I can. And I do know that despite it being the most popular, think about the world we're in, and we're not going to get into a political conversation whatsoever. It's just the facts. We grew up in a time when we had to go to college. You have to go to college. That was the whole point of life, was to go to college.
Literally, it wasn't even a thought. But I'm thinking back right now, and I think only my sister will know what I'm talking about, but I don't know, maybe you will. There was this commercial, and it was for like a community college, and it was like, let's face it, Mom, I'm not going to college. And it was like a community college commercial. Michelle will have to laugh at me, but it was always so funny because it just never was like not an option.
Yeah.
But in 20 years, is it going to be, you don't know where the world's going to be.
We don't know where the world is, and you see these shifts in behavior. And I know when I got out of college, I literally graduated during the subprime crisis. So I graduated in 2008. Everyone had a degree.
Yep.
Let's go. I was lucky enough to get a few job offers before I graduated, but my job was in banking nonetheless. So I go in, and all my friends, we've all been encouraged, go to college, get your degree. Right. Everybody comes out, they get their jobs, and then we have a recession. We have a situation where people are losing jobs left and right. Luckily, I wasn't impacted, but I know a lot of people who were, and now you have student loans and you don't have jobs, and it was just eye-opening. But our parents, neither of my parents graduated college. They both went to college. Neither of them graduated college. So in my lineage, I'm the first graduate of college, and it was something that was very important to my family and to me. And now I'm looking around. My husband was in the military, so he went to the military right out of school, and then he did a 2-year college. The military paid for it, so no need for a 529 plan. And he's doing great for himself without the 4-year degree.
Right.
And it's funny to see how the different backgrounds and different educations, and his parents were savers, so he had that savings plan.
Right.
But I don't think it's necessary anymore to be successul that you go to college. I do think it teaches you discipline, and it shows you how to grow up a little bit outside of your home before re-entering into the real world. But there's a lot of different ways to do that. So do we save different?
And I was curious. So one of the other posts that I did this week was just asking blankly, like, what type of savings do you have set up, or what plan do you have? And the responses I got were majority just had different types of savings account that they contribute to when they can. So not a 520. Both people that wrote in said that they don't have a 529, just a regular savings account. So, always an option as well, right?
Yeah.
Like there's lots of different ones, but
well, I was looking through after we got some of the poll results, and like you said, a little bit shocking to see that only 47% or whatnot got 529 plans for their kids. And knowing myself for Daisy, so I've been listening to some financial podcasts, and one of the things that I really want to do for my kids moving forward is I'd love to buy them a real estate. So and I'm getting a lot of not pushback, but did you open an account? Did you open an account? I was like, I don't know what kind of account to open at this point for Daisy.
That. Yeah.
And for Colton moving forward, because I was listening to how do you create a recurring revenue stream for your children and build net worth for them. So 529 plan is a savings account for them to use for their education, which I think is important, but is it not equally important to increase their net worth? Like, how cool would it be to graduate or from high school and say, I have a net worth already of X? Yep. So buying investment property and using the money to pay off the equity, they could sell that home and have a hefty savings account, or they could continue to rent and have that property be a piece of their equity. That's something that I'm very interested in doing for my kids. So I was looking at different types of accounts, and there are savings accounts, of course. There's a couple other things that I found that were very different. I didn't know that you could have custodial Roth IRA. So custodial Roth IRA, the parent opens the account and manages it until the child reaches 18. So contributions to that Roth, they do still grow tax-free, and the child can use the contributions for major expenses that pop up, like a car or down payment for a house, once that has been funded for a minimum of 5 years. So the earnings are different. For education expenses without having to pay early withdrawal penalties, but you can use it at any on that portion of the investment. So different kind of quote unquote savings account. There's also like the gift accounts. They used to be called UTMAs, I feel like what they were called. And they have extra benefits because you can use the funds for whatever you want. Again, you can do brokerage accounts for kids. You can do like savings accounts or put their money into mutual funds and have them be the beneficiary with you as the head of the account, and they're the beneficiary on the account, and teach them how to invest. And we talked about Joe a little bit. When I was a kid, my grandparents' money, they'd be like, we have $50 to give you. You can either take the $50, we'll go shopping, or you can take the $50 and put it in your mutual fund account we have for you, and we'll double the money. My dumbass shopped every time.
Yeah.
Let's go. My brother took the double or nothing and put it in his mutual fund, and it just grew over time. And I thought that was a really good lesson in finance and a tribute to our personalities as well. But what a cool concept. It wasn't anything like thousands and thousands of dollars, but Joe's ended up being thousands and thousands of dollars because he chose to invest. So there's a lot of different things you can do now depending on what's important to you and what you want your kids to use the money for.
Right. And I think it also depends on your financial situation, because not everyone has extra money at the end of the month to be investing right now. But I think you can start at any time.
You can.
It's not going to be too. That's kind of where I've been telling myself is like, hey, let's get this kid to kindergarten first. I don't think I'll wait that long, but we'll definitely have a savings soon. But like, it's just, the time's not always right. And you're like, man, that $100 towards a savings or diapers, like, what are you going to do?
Different. I did not put any of our money or his birthday or larger gifts from family that were specified for that plan. Right. So he has a good savings account in there, but it's being funded by those things, right? Like those pieces. If he gets a gift card or cash, I let him spend it. But it's when he gets a check or something like that, I automatically deposit it into that plan. Yep. And I think when the time is right, I will invest again into something for him. So daycare for him ends in this year. He goes to kindergarten. So sad. So if we're in a good spot, maybe I'll put a couple $100 away for him a month, just that I was spending for daycare. But in that regard, I don't think I'll put it in the 529, because as awesome as it is because of that tax deferred growth and tax-free withdrawal, I think that if right now in the market, in the real estate market, I can buy something when the rates go down a little bit for them. Yeah. And it's growing, like my house in the Carolinas, that investment might be worth growing faster and larger than sitting in the 529 plan in a more safe account. It just depends. I don't know what my kids are destined for. I think
that's the bottom line, is that we don't know.
Yeah, we don't know what they're going to do.
You guys have listened thus far, and we don't know.
We don't know. But I also having the option, so maybe a little bit in the 529, a little bit in a regular savings account. Right. Both are options.
Yep. So they're set up whichever way that they choose. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that there's a lot of financial experts out there who probably have very strong opinions right now on what's best for you.
And you should DM us if you're one of those people that have listened this far.
We're willing to work with you. Just give us a little call. We'd love your advice.
But I have a lot of work for you to do.
A lot of work. I'll give you $100. Good luck. Pay for college education. No, I just, there's no late. It's never too late, and there's never too little. You can contribute whatever you want, whenever you want. And it's not like you're going to get penalized if you don't put money into it.
Something I'm stuck on that you said right now is about a down payment on a car. And I just started thinking about like how I drove my parents' car for so long. And then I'm like thinking about the cars I currently have. And I'm like, all right, first of all, they're not going to make it 15 years. So that's fine. But then I'm like, oh my God, we're going to have to get these kids cars.
Yeah, on top of it all. So on top of all this, and that's the thing. So maybe that's...
Were you given a car? Did you have to pay for a car? What was your car situation? Sorry that we derailed, but I'm just curious.
I think because this is part of investing for your kids. Like, what do you spend the money on? So my parents gave me a car, but I had rules. So they wouldn't let me. So at 15, I got my job. And then when I was 16, I got my license. I got the car to be able to go to my job. Okay. Yep. I also had to maintain a certain GPA. So I was a nerd. Of course, I had a 4.0 or higher because we had 4.0 to 4.5. So when I didn't get a 4.5, I was crying because I'm a nerd again. But book smarts don't take you that far, kids. Just if you're listening in the car with mom, street smarts matter too. Ask my husband.
Street
smarts. But that was my rule. And all of us got cars. Like our old cars from our parents. But Katie, you grew up in small business environment, so did I. So there were a lot of cars laying around.
So yeah, and my dad does engine work with GM, so we always had to have Chevys. Steph got a brand spanking new car.
Of course,
I got one from the back of the warehouse.
Fine.
It was like an old cop car, Chevy Impala, green. Broke down multiple times. While Steph's driving a
brand new Chevy. You're the middle child. Like your first child.
Oh yeah.
My brother's also
hilarious.
I had the nicest car for sure of the three. Yeah. So mine.
Well, you're also the girl in the family. Like of course you did. Because if you didn't,
Chrysler Intrepid. So Dodge made Intrepids. I don't know why mine was a Chrysler. I called her Danger the Big Black. She was like this giant. I loved her, but she was dangerous. I got in accidents constantly in that car.
Really?
And yeah, I got pulled over for pretending to be a school bus once. went to a city
That's
school.
why you had so many rules.
Yeah. It was great. Driving wasn't my forte, but I was the community driver for all my friends. So
Yeah,
it
so was I.
was that car I drove through college to the point where you had to open the window and let yourself out of the passenger door. That's how
That's what
long
you do. Drive them right into the ground. Even my
Right?
sister's brand new car, she drove all, as far as I remember, she had it through law school. Like she was
My brother's a 28-year-old engineer that still drives the Altima, the used Altima my parents bought him in college. Okay, so
yeah.
Talk about driving car. That's why our kids that they'll be fine with whatever car we give them, right?
They sure will, because mine literally broke down in the middle of an intersection before I was standing there with flashers on, calling people that I thought were close. I only got in one. I've only been in the one I got rear-ended on the throughway coming back from Fredonia, but I drove that puppy back and forth up that throughway and down to Florida. We actually took that down to Florida, and Ryan took that car, and I got a new one.
But think about how well that financial
to not have a car payment. So that's where I'm like, I don't know. So we were all spoiled, obviously, and given cars. Michelle's car was a little even worse than mine, so that made hers had like tinted. I don't know where my dad found these cars. They had like tinted windows. She would get pulled over for. I was driving it one time and they pulled us over. Yeah, they're like, we have to look at. We couldn't see in the back of the car. I'm like, I know. Call my dad. Like,
yeah, but you were so like at that moment you were glad to have a car, and like you said, not everybody.
Oh yeah, I remember like a lot of kids in high school like were saving for the car. I had a job, but I mean, my job was to play soccer. Let's be real. Yeah. I thought I was the.
Well, I did.
Mia Hamm.
Here's the thing about that, though. This is a very good point, and this is something that your light went off again. This is something that I have talked about with multiple people at this point. I was, whether you agree that it's an athlete or not, I was also a national champion for cheerleading, and I danced my whole high school. And I have two brothers, and we all went to 3 different schools. So I went to a private school in the city. My brothers went to 2 different schools in Greece. The littlest one's 10 years younger. You had 2 siblings too.
Yep.
And if I had a summer job. And the reason was my job was getting, and that's why I had to have good grades. And I cheered and danced. And that car helped my parents because I was still able to do those things.
Right.
They would be running back and forth between the 3 kids. My brother was playing baseball. And
did you have to drive Joe? How far apart are you guys though?
3 years. I never.
So it was a little bit. Okay, so I always had either Steph drove me or I drove Michelle. Michelle was, even to this day, and this is something I'm going to crop for Instagram. Michelle just texted me on her way to work and that she couldn't log into her Starbucks app and she needed me to send her money for coffee. So I truly have 3 children because I financially apparently take care of her. But I've my whole life, she's just been like, if I wanted to go through Tim Hortons on the way to school, like senior year, guess who else is getting an ice cap? Guess who else was getting it? So like I had a job, but like all my money was gone because I was paying double.
My brother is 10 years younger than me. He lived with me for 9 months.
Oh yeah, these youngest kids, they just get what's whatever. With you guys out there?
I remember like graduating and going to get my first job, and my mom took me out to buy suits because I needed suits for the bank.
Yep.
And I spent like $1,200 or something on suits, which was astronomical. And my brother graduates; he's an engineer, making triple what I made coming out of college. And she's like, "I picked up these suit jackets for you, David. Like, do you like them?" Like nonstop.
I can get you more. We
just talked about this morning. My girlfriend was on the phone. We were on speakerphone with my mom because she's watching the baby, and she's like, "Cheryl, don't lie. David's your favorite." She's like, "He's the baby. He's the baby. He's not my favorite. He's the baby." So I do, and now I'm thinking about Daisy. I'm like, "Colton, you get the 529 plan. Daisy, I'm gonna buy you a house." Like,
what do you want?
Like, I need to reconsider how I'm gonna do this because then you got to worry about 3 kids. Your parents had 3 kids. My parents had. Yeah. And you're still thinking about your sister's brand new car and how you had the.
Well, I think my dad quickly got it and then was like, "Shit, I can't get through the brand new car. I have weddings to pay for."
The kids think about these things, right? Like we all talk about that. Like Joseph, you went to private school. I'm like, you play baseball every weekend. Like I don't know what to tell you.
Right. It's different. It's total. It's all relative. But then it's also like we were given a lot of stuff, but like I had a job. I learned how to handle money. Like I was never beyond spoiled where I just was like throwing
No,
tantrums when I didn't
couldn't
get
do.
stuff. So I got this stuff because I acted right.
Yeah.
And that's a big piece of it. And I think that's something I definitely want to instill in my boys of like, you will get things, but you have to work for them, like be a respectable human. And I actually think I just made me think of an interview that I listened to. I don't know if you've ever heard Shaq speak before about his kids.
No.
He's got like 5 kids and he's like, they are spoiled rotten, but something I told them all whenever they want something is daddy's rich. You are not rich. Dad's rich.
That's a good
and
point.
You need to work for whatever it is. And he's like, degrees, get money. So if you get a degree, you get money. Like, and he like made sure. So
That's
even with that much money, right? Like
you're
they were
still
working.
Instilling that in your kids. And I think you and I, like we talked about, my parents did a really good job balancing. Like they gave me the car because it was the best thing for them. Honestly, they wanted me to be able to continue playing sports and getting good grades and not having to worry about, and I know this is not for everybody, but they had the capability to do it for me, but they didn't do it for me without a cost. I never got Abercrombie or got my hair done or got my nails done or went tanning on my parents' money. I worked for that money. That was my fun money because we're not
Can we talk about how much money I probably spent on tanning?
Oh, can we talk about how orange I am from self tanning last night?
Talk about how white I am from the light in here.
I'm like a cross between a Oompa Loompa and I don't know, it's Donald Trump at this point. Like my fingers are literally orange because
I hope people stuck around this long to listen to the good part because the financial part can be boring, but
this is where we're at. Yeah, we spent thousands of dollars, and now just so that we can find out it gives you cancer. Great, thanks.
Cool,
really great. Cool. But yeah, I do think with our kids, if you guys need Cocoa Bucks, like my son now has to.
We can print money.
I can print you money with your child's face on it. So like a Jack Buck, whatever it is. Colton loves these things.
We'll start making out templates, and
Colton got an extra buck today for being respectful. That was before he wiped my kiss away for walking out the door. I almost took a Cocoa Buck back, but that's how he goes to the store now. So he goes to the dollar store with his Cocoa Bucks. And
there's nothing better than taking your kid into the dollar store and letting them get whatever they want.
Because they're sitting there like every other store, you're like, nobody. And then he's like, but Mom, it's so cute. And you know what, Colton? Yeah.
We did it for Christmas gifts. They were not only a hit, he had a riot for about a half hour.
Colton's favorite store, I go to Marshall's. It's the best. Yeah. And it's a great, talk about when it's snowy out. What do you do in Rochester? Take your kid to the dollar store.
Dollar store or Target toy aisle.
Yeah. Well, that's the Target toy aisle.
But that's much more expensive.
Get your Starbucks to the drive-thru and go to the dollar store. Then drop your kid off.
It's so true. It's so true.
Yeah, I think if you guys have financial advice for us, please let us know. It's just something that came up to us most recently, and we've been talking a lot about it and thought we'd talk about it with you all. But I do know that it's time to clock into the 9 to 5 and say goodbye to all of you until next week.
Bye.